What's up, gifted family? Welcome to another episode of the show that is the GP YouTube. Just a reminder that if you support what we do here, make sure to go over to giftedperformance.com and sign up for our automated coaching service. For only $1 a day, you'll get access to 15 highly customized training programs, a macronutrient calculator, our meal planning feature that lets you build and save meals based on your macros, as well as access to our private Facebook group. All subscriptions help us in continuing to put out great content to get you to your fitness goals. Thanks for stopping by, and without any further delay, let's get into today's video. Enjoy.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Athlete Diaries. A man who needs no introduction right here, Mr. Cameron Cheek. He didn't get a lot of sleep last night, so guys, let's be easy on him today. No one in the comments absolutely bash this guy. He's a little tired
all
baby.
All the comments today that we get on our YouTube video.
Exactly.
We'll get one.
And then a fresh smiling face to the podcast, the one and only Vanessa. But it is pronounced Vince, and we'll go into why it's pronounced that. Falero, right? That's pronounced correctly. Okay, perfect. Over on, well, I guess it's my left, but who knows where she'll show up when this actually gets recorded and posted. Vanessa just got off work, but other than work, how's it hanging?
Good. COVID life is not really different than regular life, to be quite honest. I don't really do much. I'm an introvert, so I'm usually at work or at the gym.
Yeah, quarantining all on her own. When COVID first hit, you guys pretty much just shut down, right? Just because of the field.
So actually, we never stopped treatment for these patients, but the people on my team, someone has diabetes, the other person is over the age of 60. So I just volunteered to see everybody. So I was pretty much just going in every single day.
Were you getting paid double, triple, quadruple, overtime? Any of the above? That's exploitation. And honestly, we're going to hook you up with our gifted performance lawyers, and we're going to have a nice little lawsuit, and you're not going to have to work there ever again because you're going to own the company. But let's take a second to give Vanessa a chance to introduce herself to all the people. What do you do for work? What do you do in your free time? And what's the name of your dog? And what breed is he? And the whole shebang. Give it to us.
All right. So I'm a research coordinator. I see cancer patients and enroll them on clinical trials, which predominantly include like targeted or immunotherapy. On my free time, other than the gym, which I thoroughly enjoy, I'm sure as everybody does, that's on this team. I like to read. I like going on hikes, watching movies, binging Netflix, the usual. And then what else did you ask? My dog's name is Mufasa. He's a boxer mix, and he's probably the neediest animal I've ever encountered, for sure.
He's a handsome young lad. Did you finish reading Range?
I'm almost done. I just finished chapter 7.
Are you liking it?
I'm telling you, I love it. The audiobooks are hard. I'm just really, I have to be like in the zone. Otherwise, I'm thinking about like what I'm doing tomorrow, next week, what I'm going to eat when I get home.
I do that sometimes, like even when I'm actually reading. I'll read a paragraph and I'll be like, okay, I'm having chicken fajitas for dinner, but what was that paragraph just about? Because now I have no idea.
Exactly.
And I got to start over. So audiobooks are even worse for me. Crap, I had another question for you, but I know what it was. Ready? All right. So this is usually a PG to PG-13 podcast, but we're going full TVMA right here. When you're at the gym and you like to maybe hit on some guy, some unsuspecting individual who's coming to save you when you're stuck at the bottom of a squat, what's your go-to move?
I actually don't say anything. It's all eye contact. So I just look for the nearest person and I stare at them. Yeah.
Exactly. Like a dog taking a shit. Just
Please help.
I trust you.
Exactly.
Help
and
me.
I'll mouth like, could you help me or something like that? And usually people come, but I always expect them to lift up, not lift back. And that's exactly what that last guy did. And that's why I fell on his shoe and everyone at the gym heard me fall. It was awful.
So we'll definitely, if you still have it, we'll definitely edit in that video right here. Poor Vanessa. She's at the bottom of a squat, stuck, trying to go for her 4th rep at 200. And some guy comes to save her and just grabs the bar and pulls her straight back. And she has no choice but to just take a seat on his feet. Damn, that was bars right there. But quite a good video. All right, let's get into some more of the serious stuff. Your training in athletic history, take me through that. So when did you first get into lifting weights? Did you play sports when you were young? What kind of sports? What were you best at? What did you hate? All that.
So I danced all throughout middle school. And then in high school, I took a strange route and decided to try out for the lacrosse team. So I played lacrosse in high school, and then I did cross country to stay in shape for lacrosse. What really got me into weightlifting was like the conditioning portion when we would train for lacrosse. And those were probably like my favorite out of like the sprints that they would make us do outside and then like actual practice. And then I continued to weightlift. I wouldn't even say it seriously. It was like whenever I would show up and, I would do like 20 reps of 60-pound squats or something like that while at UCF just to keep myself entertained. That's really it. I kind of was like aimlessly training for a good period of time before you and I started working together.
So when you were aimlessly training, what was your goal? Was it the goal of everyone who aimlessly trains, just to look better with our clothes off to attract the opposite gender? Or were you just like, hey, I'm just going to go kill time?
It was more of like the cliche, I want to tone my body but not get buff. Yeah.
Listen, I've been trying to tone my body and not get buff for years now. And if anyone has seen me, I am still just this grotesque lard of a human being. So if you've got tips, pass them over to your boy here, because I certainly need them. Now, comparing things like lacrosse, cross country is pretty hard. I can't even front on that. But comparing those sports that you first started with to bodybuilding, how does it compare? What's the difficulty level like in a sport like bodybuilding compared to what you've had history with?
I would say bodybuilding is easier only in the sense of enjoyment, and I can set a lot more short-term goals versus running. I'm awful at running. I can go long distance, but I'm very slow. I was just forcing myself to run at that point. There was even a phase while I was in college that I decided to run half marathons. I even ran a marathon. And after that marathon, I was like, I don't think I ever want to run again. So my running since then has been pretty sporadic.
Cam, do you think you could run a marathon? Like, had to do it. Could you run all the way through a marathon? No stopping to walk. You can do the, like, I have to poop trot. But could you jog your way all the way through a marathon?
Like now, or would I have time to train?
Right now. You put your shoes on and we're going.
How long is a marathon?
What are they, 26.2?
Miles?
Yeah.
Miles.
Yeah.
I know. Absolutely not. What are the ones that are like 5 miles or 3.5, something like that?
A 5K.
Oh yeah, that's what I was thinking about. Where I was like, maybe, but no, 20 something. Lord no.
Vanessa, when you were at your marathon fittest, do you think that you could have done an Ironman?
Oh no, I could barely even do the marathon. By like mile 19, I was ready to just like chop my legs off because I couldn't. I was in so much pain.
The Ironman just seems like such an absurd endeavor. Do you know how long the swim is for an Ironman? I always forget.
I want to say like 3 miles. I could be wrong though. I'm not sure.
I think you're right. That's the number that I was going to go with. So it's like a 3-mile swim, a marathon, then like a 100-mile bike ride or something insane like that. Like, my goodness, give me each piece and it'll still murder me.
Yeah,
exactly. And
those it's absurd.
I think
There's
you have to run the last of it too.
Do you?
Yeah, I think it's swim, bike, and then you run.
Yeah.
Is it?
Run.
It is. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. You're right. That's terrible. That is. Oh my God, I can't think of worse torture. Do you know how and we're getting kind of off traffic here, but that's when we have the most fun. Do you know how the marathon got its name, Marathon? Little history lesson. Cam?
I know nothing.
So it got its name from, I believe it was the Battle of Marathon, and I think that where the battle was going on in the city of Marathon, they won the battle, and the guy had to run back to Rome or something like that to tell them that they had won, and it was like a 26.2 mile run or something close to that. Someone is going to absolutely butcher me in the comments, like, well, actually, if you look at the history, well, fuck you, man. But he ran whatever it was, like the 26.2 miles. And you know what he did when he was done with that run? He collapsed and he died. So we made a sport out of something that the first person who ever did it died. Now, he wasn't, having Gatorade and like those little gummies along the way. But nonetheless, we made a sport out of this poor fellow's death. When you were running, were you doing the Gatorade? Were you doing the gummies? Did you carb load before your marathon, Vanessa?
I don't know why, but during that time, like I couldn't eat very much beforehand. So I would have like a banana and a bowl of cereal. And I started my run. And then I think it was like every 5 to 10 miles, the like glue, it's like this paste thing. You could just like, yeah. That was disgusting, but that's honestly nasty. What got me through. Yeah.
I had one of my professors when I first started at UCF in the exercise science program. He was a big marathon runner, and he used to tell us horror stories of people that would like try that goo or that glue stuff for the first time during a marathon. And sometimes that stuff doesn't agree very well with your stomach. So you hear horror stories about people who are like just pooping themselves as they go. They're just like pooping in their pants as they run, and they just keep on running. So there are so many things about a marathon that sound so horrible that I'm sure bodybuilding was a very nice transition. You're like, I don't have to run. I don't have to, put weird goo stuff in my mouth, and there's a 0% chance that I'm going to poop myself. So that's a lot of positives right there with bodybuilding, except for Miranda's. Wait till you hear Miranda's podcast when it comes out. Speaking of pooping yourself, we'll just leave it right there.
No.
But take me back to the start of kind of when you first got into bodybuilding. And you'll have to forgive me. You're probably going to yell at me. How did we make our acquaintance? Who linked us up together? Who screwed you over and put you with me?
I think it was, I had just moved back from Miami, and I started going back to the same LA Fitness I've been going to for like a million years. Drew Tim. I went to high school with him. And I saw him at LA when he was prepping for his show. And I saw him doing like the same movements every time, but it just seemed like he was dying every time he was there. So I was just, like asking him like, hey, what are you doing? You look a lot leaner. And he showed me your Instagram. He's like, yeah, he'll like send you in the right direction. And I was like, okay, why not? But I waited, I think 3 or 4 months before I messaged you, because I looked at your page and you just scared the living shit out of me. So I didn't want to start something if I wasn't 100% sure.
I get that all. I think you actually reached out to me, and it was like some of the most timid messages I've ever gotten from someone. It was like, "Hello, sir. Please respond to this at your earliest convenience, or don't. You don't have to. I'm sorry. My fault. I'll show myself out." But it was very funny. Drew, I think I remember now. Drew gave me the 411 on Vanessa. He was like, she works really hard. She's really committed. She wants to get into this. And I was like, sweet, we can definitely, kick this thing off and get it going. And you had a good starting point. I think, what did we do first? We kind of did like a mini cut, and then we did a maintenance, and then we did a prep, right?
Yeah, I think we did a mini cut it started with you in June. So I want to say about 6 months, give or take. And then after that, we went into a reverse diet. And then we did maintenance for some time. And then we tried to do a cut, but I just was not abiding by what you were telling me to do. So that failed. And then we maintained for some time again before we started prep.
Yeah, I think that maintenance phase really did you some good. Had we kind of tried to push for that contest prep when you were admittedly not following the rules, for whatever reason at the time that you weren't following the rules, I think it was a good idea to take a maintenance phase and definitely built some muscle, and that for sure showed when you actually got on stage. I want to ask Cam. Cam, when you were first introduced to me, were you also terrified of me? I get this all the time. People think I'm some big scary guy. I'm not a big scary guy. One, I'm not big.
I think I just didn't know you, and I felt like I was talking to a rock. I was like, I think it doesn't really have a lot of emotion. And at the time, I was also this 21-year-old that probably was posting really not logically worded statements and things.
We're still getting you to that point.
And so, yeah, I was probably like, he for sure probably doesn't like me.
Hey, it's okay. Let me reassure you, I didn't like you, not even in the slightest. At the time, Cam was like, "Hey guys, like doing this, enlightened ice cream giveaway. Put in my code OnlyFans69 at checkout to get a free pint of Halo Top ice cream."
I did have my fit-tard days going.
Hey, it's okay. It brought you to where you are today. Vanessa, did you ever have your fit-tard days? Actually, we can't say that anymore, guys. It's 2020. We call it Fidiot now. So idiot is still safe, so we call it Fidiot. So I apologize to all the people that are watching this for Cam's callous words that he just used. Vanessa, did you have any Fidiot days where you were pulling training programs off of Pinterest, following crazy diets or anything like that? Walk us through the clueless days.
I actually used a lot of programs from bodybuilding.com.
Oh, that's not that bad.
And then I went through a phase where I followed a bunch of influencer fitspo type people on IG, and I think one of them was having a contest of who could lose the most weight. So I signed up and I stuck with it for 2 months. But the fact that she's across the country, lives in California, I don't know. I didn't feel like I needed to adhere, and there was no pressure. When I signed with you, you scared me, so there was pressure for me to follow to the T.
When do you think that you stopped being scared of me, or are you still scared of me?
I think after I finished the mini cut and you told me that I actually did a good job, and I think that was maybe the first time you had told me I did a good job. So I was like, oh, okay, I did this.
Screenshot, print, hang on wall. Dad said I did a good job.
Yeah, exactly.
So kind of when you were coaching yourself or grabbing these programs for online, you said you kind of had issues with adherence. Was that probably the biggest difference that you saw between kind of working with yourself or working on your own versus working with a coach? Because I think a lot of people have that similar thing where they sign up with a coach for that adherence. Was that the biggest difference, or are there other differences that come to mind?
In addition to that, I'd say I was never like logging what I was lifting, so it was just purely based off memory. And I don't really think I cared for strength training for the sake of like just getting stronger. It was just weight loss was my main focus, and that's changed completely now that we work together.
Yeah. And what have those lifting numbers done since we have started?
They've skyrocketed.
Up, up, up. What do you think that you were squatting when you first came and started working with me?
95 pounds.
Were you 95? You remember?
Yeah, I remember because I think the first time I recorded myself, because we would talk about form and you kept asking, like I was not really verbal the first couple of months. I just kind of did what I needed to do. And then you would ask me for videos and I would say, I just was super shy in the gym. I didn't want to be that guy or that girl recording themselves because usually they bother me, but I have now become that person. And I think the first time I recorded myself, I was squatting about 135, 145. And that was 3 months in. So.
Yeah, right on. Yeah. And look at us now. What'd you hit the other day? 200 for an easy 3?
Yeah.
With a couple reps in reserve there as well. So now that you've kind of, and this is kind of a sidebar, but now that you're kind of taking some time away from bodybuilding and you're more pursuing strength goals, what are your big goals for your 1RMs, for a squat, a bench, and a deadlift? What would make you happy?
I guess it depends. It depends if it's like within the next couple of months. I could say maybe like 300, but I'd want to say 400.
400?
I don't know how realistic that is.
On a deadlift?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not out of the question. We can get there. with
it might be a little ambitious.
As long as you take your vitamins and you say your prayers, you'll get there.
Yeah.
Cam, quit fucking smirking over there.
I didn't do anything.
Cam, you got any questions for Vanessa about her early history and training before we get into some nitty-gritty on some contest prep details?
No, I'm excited to hear those.
All right. Then let us begin. All right, so first off, we'll start with what show did you do? What divisions did you enter? Because there's some juicy details there. And how'd you place?
So I did Lee Haney here in Atlanta. And I paid for true novice division and novice. But for some reason, show day, when everyone was lining up for open, I didn't hear my number called, and I went up to the person that was working there, and I asked them like why they didn't call my number, that I had paid for 3 divisions. And she's like, "Oh, really?" He's like, "That must be a mistake." So then they just lumped me in to one of the groups. So I also competed in open, but did not pay for it.
Oh yeah, badass.
Yeah. I only realized because I checked the receipt. Like it was something that I couldn't figure out if I did or not. And when I got home the next day, I was like, oh.
Honestly, we at Gifted Performance, we had a lot of fun at the Lee Haney games, but we owe a bit of an apology to the promoters, because not only did Vanessa kind of like weasel her way into a division she didn't pay for, myself and Jimble and everyone that came with us, we did not pay for tickets, and we got promoter passes and athlete passes.
During a sold-out show.
During the sold-out show, we had to sneak in the back. So Jimble had an athlete pass on, and they were like, "Oh, like you're an athlete, you competed," and just I didn't even see that it said athlete, and just on the fly, I was just like, because she didn't have a spray tan or anything, so she obviously wasn't an athlete. And I was just like, yeah, she did really bad in prejudging, so she went home and showered, and she doesn't even want to do the night. And they were like, oh, like, I'm so sorry to hear that. Like, you'll get them next time. Like, just stick with it and do your best, and you know, you'll really do well in your next show. So we apologize to Lee Haney and the promoters of that show for stealing entry into not only divisions, but also to the show itself. But Vanessa, how did you place?
So I placed 5th for True Novice, 4th for Novice, and 4th for Open.
Tell me how that makes sense, Cam. How do you get 5th in True Novice, where no one has ever competed before, move up to Novice, a more competitive division, do better, move up to Open, an even more competitive division, and also do better? How does that work?
Someone, I don't know. There's some politics, man. There's something for the show.
It was some politics. I greased some of the judges. In between True Novice and Novice, I was like, listen, that girl up there, Vanessa, here's a nice, crisp $1 bill. A nice, who's on the $1 bill? George Washington? No, he's on the 100. No, that's Ben Franklin. George Washington's on the $1 bill, right? Cam,
I think so.
help me out here. Save me. Come on.
I'm just gonna
Abraham
say
Lincoln's on the 5. Yeah, it's George. All right, so I handed him a crisp George, and they were like, all right, we'll give her 4th. Just kidding. Didn't have to do that. She just got better and better as she went. Posing improved. How did you feel about your physique at the Lee Haney? Were you feel like you could have improved some more? Are you proud with where you got to? Give me the scoop.
So I didn't really, I feel like the whole prep, I was just doubtful of like how I was going to come in. I feel like I even would message you, like, I don't think I'm ready, or I think I'm too small, or whatever the case was. And you're just like, just be quiet and just do what I'm telling you to do, and you'll see. And so I did that. But the day of the show, I think once I saw everything like kind of come together, I felt a little bit more confident. I obviously did feel small, and I know I could put on more muscle mass, but I mean, that's what the next show will be for.
Cam, will you go ahead and tell Vanessa that she's crazy for feeling small?
you are crazy. I think a lot of people with their first show, like, because I'm seeing it with Julie too, just especially because she talks more, I'm sure, than most. A lot of people will.
Human beings.
Oh, well, than most would like that aren't as close, I guess, or because worrying about complaining and stuff. And I'm like, you're gonna get up here and be like, oh, I'm leaner than some of these people are. Like when I was like 8 weeks out, like I'm like, you're gonna be surprised some of these people that you see go there and compete. You're gonna be like, what did you forget? What are you doing here? Wrong sport.
One thing that I don't know if I ever heard you complain about it or mention it. Maybe you were just, again, you were scared to mention it. But were you ever worried during the process of like how you would stack up with other competitors? For me, what you voiced to me, you always had a very internalized, I won't be ready. I'm not going to be like where I need to be. I'm going to be too small. But it was never like, I'm going to be smaller than everybody else. I'm not going to be as lean as everybody else. Is that something that you maybe had going on in the back of your head, or was that never something that crossed your mind?
It wasn't really something that crossed my mind, purely because I never really gave myself the time in a day to sit on my phone and like look through photos. I think about like 3 to 4 months in, I set a schedule. And I just became robotic. Like I was up at 4 a.m., trained at 5, went to work, took a breather for like 30 minutes, went back to the gym, did cardio, came back home, got ready for bed, repeat for the last
Why? Here's another big question for you, and this one might be tough for you to answer. So get ready for it. Why didn't you take more pictures when you were jacked and shredded as all hell? Vanessa, answer that one for me. Where are all the pictures?
I think I took, aside from like our check-in photos, I think I took pictures.
Three?
Yeah, maybe peak week. And it wasn't even like going into the show. It was literally like a couple of days before that I saw my back, and I was like, whoa, I did not know my back looked like that. Yeah, regrets. I know. Next time.
Next time, for sure. You say it next time. In my most recent prep, and you got on me about this. You were making fun of me, throwing it right back at me. You were like, "Hey, where are all your pictures? Why aren't you taking pictures?" But I think the more that I took on the mentality that you had, where I was like really just focused on my schedule, handling my own business, the less I cared about kind of taking pictures to see how I stacked up against everyone else. So maybe as in my old age, I've become more curmudgeon-y and more introverted, like yourself. Cam, do you notice that with your clients in terms of like the extroverts versus introverts? Someone like Julie, who's very, very extroverted, who likes to take a lot of photos, likes to post a lot. People like Pierce, extremely extroverted, always taking pictures, always posting. Do you have a preference in terms of who you like to work with?
I like working with both. It's not that I would, I guess, prefer working with one or another unless I will say I like working. I enjoy when athletes communicate more and just have a better connection relationship because it makes my job more fun and feel like I'm not just working with a number. But I mean, if I had to pick, yeah, like I would prefer people that keep communication high, but I definitely have both. Like Curtis, for example, he's so quiet, like texting wise. I remember because Paul just started, we started co-coaching some with Curtis. And I remember one time he was like, is Curtis just like, is he fed up or something? I'm like, no, he just texts like a grandma. Like at first I used to get really frustrated, and then I realized like, he just texts like a grandma.
I actually remember in the first couple months that Vanessa and I started working together, I think Drew texted me because Drew and I were still working together at that time in his post-show period. He's like, "Oh, how's Vanessa doing?" I was like, I think I don't really know. Like, she checks in, her weight is moving correctly, her macros look good, but like, I don't know if she's happy, miserable, or somewhere in between because the communication is so. But now you've kind of blossomed, come out of your shell, and I think you're a lot less introverted than you used to be.
Yeah. I think a lot of it though.
Go ahead.
I think a lot of it was that I didn't want to like be annoying. I mean, now I feel like mostly what we talk about is I'm sending you videos or like I'm telling you like, oh, I hit this number. But for the most part, I just don't like, I don't see the purpose of complaining or sending messages that like you don't really care about. I don't know. That's just my mentality of it. I don't want to bother, I guess.
Sometimes that works out. Sometimes it doesn't go so well because Vanessa will be like, "Hey, I went for my AMRAP squat set, and this is what I got, and it was a little less than what I wanted, so I'm going to try again." And I'm like, "Okay, yeah, you'll get a chance to try again." And then the next day she texts me and she's like, "Hey, I tried the squat set again, and it went way worse than last time." I was like, "What are you, an insane person? You tried to max out your squat 2 days in a row?" So, it has its positives and it has its negatives, but we make it through nonetheless. Another question that I did have for you about just kind of the contest prep, dieting process as a whole, what would you say for you are the easiest parts of prep, and then what are the hardest parts of prep?
Easiest part would definitely have to be just showing up to the gym and like doing my workout and cardio. Hardest, I don't know. I mean, I really didn't think that prep was that hard. Like I consciously made an effort not to complain to other people. Like I didn't want to be mean. Obviously I'm dealing with sick people, so I'm not trying to exert that kind of energy on them. But I guess the hardest part was waking up in the middle of the night hungry. I think that was my least favorite thing. And there's nothing you can do to go back to sleep. You just have to chug a bunch of water till your belly's full and then just try to go back to sleep, I guess. But I I would have this weird like thing telling myself, food is always guaranteed tomorrow. So even though I wasn't eating enough or as much as I wanted today, that I would still have the same spinach, egg whites, and tuna tomorrow.
Damn, that's quite the quote right there. That's some wisdom right there. We're going to have to put that in a little quote when we release this podcast. I like that. Put it on a t-shirt. I'll give you some of the proceeds from it. So I think that everyone we've asked that question has said something similar, like the training and, you know, the cardio and just going to the gym. And that's kind of like my happy place in prep. And then the worst part of prep is, you know, you're a little bit hungry from time to time or all the time. Now, one thing that I did want to ask you in particular, because I think that you especially, and I know Cam has had a couple clients that are like this as well, you probably had to diet as hard as I've seen anyone diet before in terms of people that I've worked with. Do you remember what your lowest body weight was that you got to?
I think 123, 124.
Okay, so 123, 124. And how tall are you?
I'm 5'5".
Okay, so 5'5". So for reference, my fiance, Jimble, she is also 5'5". When she competed in bikini, she weighed 103 pounds. And she was actually, I think at the end of your prep, you were eating close to like 1,100 calories a day, right?
On a good day, yeah.
Yeah, and doing 500, 600 calories of cardio a day as well. Yeah, so when you look at that and you say, look how little I have to eat, look at how much cardio I have to do, was there ever like a moment in your mind where you said like, woe is me, look at how hard this is for me, look how easy it is for everyone else, like why is it like this? Did you ever have that mentality?
No, I did not let my mind go there. I thought that was like a recipe for disaster of just thinking of like, why is it so much easier for everybody else? But then again, I didn't like, since I don't really have any other foundation of bodybuilding, and I don't, aside from like everybody on our team, I don't really talk to anybody else about bodybuilding. So, you know, ignorance is bliss, I guess.
Yeah. Kept yourself in the dark. You didn't know how bad you had it. And then you just had me emailing you, and I was like, oh, you got it great. Look at all this food you're eating. These 1,100 calories. Like, you're living the dream.
I feel that ignorance is bliss, because my first prep, things got pretty rough towards the end of it. But the whole time, I never knew that was coming. So I was like, oh, this isn't that bad. And now, like, I know going into whenever I do another show at some point, I'm just going to be like, I know it's coming. I know it's coming.
And I've said that before as well, where I was like, my first contest prep, when I was my absolute dumbest, like bro of all bros, clean foods, fasted cardio, all out failure training every single day, when I knew basically nothing, that was when life was the easiest for me, because that's how I thought it was done. As soon as I learned about flexible dieting, you know, interval cardio, being able to like arrange your workouts differently, things just got harder and harder for me, because I was like, there's all these possibilities that I can choose from, and it just got so much harder. So it'll be interesting as you get into future contest preps to maybe sit down and do this again to see if you think it was harder, easier, or if you can find a way to get back into that ignorant mindset of just like, well, this is my life now, and that's about it. This is what I do every day.
Yeah. Now I follow a lot more like IFBB pros on Instagram, and they're like, oh, prep 1,700 calories. And I'm like, what the hell? I eat that like for maintenance.
Yeah. Right. It's terrible. But yeah, that's one of the pitfalls that a lot of people get into, is where they just end up spending all their time comparing themselves to others. So I like that you said that you just never even kind of let yourself get to that point where you were getting in that comparative mindset. So when you went through prep, since it was your first time, was there anything that kind of caught you by surprise? You were like, whoa, like I wasn't expecting for this to be a part of this? Or because it was all so new, you were just like, oh, well, you know, rolling with the punches here?
Yeah, pretty much. I was in a relationship when I first started prep, and I think that made prep a lot more complicated. And then after we broke up, like prep just became so much easier because I didn't have to like answer anybody. I could kind of come and go as I please.
He's gone now. Glad to be rid of him.
No, I mean, I guess, but yeah, I think honestly, even after we broke up too, that's when my weight really started dropping. I don't know if it was a mixture of stress too, but everything got a whole lot easier. Yeah.
Cam.
Hey.
Were you dating anyone when you prepped for the first time?
No. I actually just gotten out of a divorce.
Nice. So you lost a heavy ball and chain there.
I cared, towards the end of prep, I cared nothing about women. And everything about nothing. Just doing absolutely nothing.
I was listening to a podcast once, and they were talking about like sex drive and kind of like just sexual relations at the end of a prep. And I think the guy that they were interviewing said that like the thought of an unlimited, like I think it was like the thought of going to CC's Pizza and having unlimited pizza is more sexual than like intercourse could ever be. And I was like, this guy is speaking some truth here. He knows what's up. And if you've never been through a contest prep before, you're going to hear that quote and you're going to be like, these guys, they're crazy. They don't know what they're talking about. But just wait. Wait until you get deep into that prep and there's that plate of chicken wings there. And you're like, the things that I would do for that right there. What was, quick transition here, getting away from that awkward moment. What was the post-show meal for you, Vanessa? When the reins were lifted and it was freedom, what'd you go for? I think we had dinner together.
Yeah, we went to Marietta Diner, I think.
Yeah.
So, honestly, what I wanted to do was go to sleep, but I was even hungry.
I don't even remember dinner.
Yeah, I think I had a burger and fries. And I think I maybe had 3 bites of my burger, and I was like, I'm so full. I want nothing but just to shower and go to sleep.
You know what I actually do remember about that dinner? I remember meeting your parents. Your parents are very sweet people. Will you send them my love?
I will.
Perfect. Thanks.
My mom had the hardest time coping with me prepping. Like we FaceTime often. Every time she'd see me, she's like, "You're just getting skinnier and skinnier. Like, are you okay? I don't like you this thin." And I'm like, "Mom, it's fine. Ryan knows what he's doing. It's okay."
Yeah,
it's gonna come back. Please don't do that again. Like, I am sorry.
I think that's a common reaction of the parents and immediate family. What are you doing? You're starving yourself. You're so hungry all the time. Why are you like this?
Especially
even at work. Yeah, at work, a lot of the doctors that I worked with, I didn't tell them I was prepping or anything like that. They just progressively saw me losing weight. So towards the end, one of the doctors I work with pulled me aside and she's like, "Hey, I'm just a little concerned with your weight. Are you doing okay?" And I'm like, "This is all intentional, I promise."
It's intentional starvation. Leave me alone.
Yeah.
Controlled starvation.
Yeah.
Intentional, controlled starvation. That's what bodybuilding is all about. And only the sickest of individuals will do it. So I did want to kind of give you a chance to maybe talk to any of the listeners out there who are kind of in a similar situation to you. Maybe they don't have kind of, because you see it all the time on Instagram, these like NPC bikini competitors that stay super lean year round. They just have that build. And then there are other women that look at that and that's not the build that they have. That's not their current physique. So maybe they think like, oh, maybe I shouldn't, do bikini or I shouldn't compete. For someone like you that might be in a similar boat to them, what would you tell them in terms of their NPC bikini journey? Just getting started, what to expect along the way. What's your big takeaway there?
Primarily focus on how you feel and performance. I feel like that's been the two things that I've been trying to stick to, because I mean, I can't say I did really well when it came to reverse dieting out of my show. But once I transitioned from not focusing on how I looked or like just size in general, and I focused on performance, it made it a little bit more bearable, or the weight gain at least. And then short-term goals versus long-term goals. I also think I kind of like lost focus of other things because I was so focused on Lee Haney and I couldn't think of anything else. And then after the show, I was like, okay, well, what do I do now? What's my purpose now? But yeah, performance for sure.
Yeah. I think a lot of people are getting that same boat, that like what now mentality, and it can kind of rob the joy of the actual moment of the show. It's like you just competed, you just had this extremely high moment, and you get, which is a very real thing, is that post-show blues. And what you said right there is a great takeaway for everyone. Like, shift your mindset. You're no longer physique motivated anymore. Shift your mindset over to a performance motivation. Do I feel better? Am I getting my menstrual cycle back? Am I sleeping better? Am I more social? Are my cravings going away? Am I less food focused? And am I, lifting more weight than I ever am? Because you most certainly are. So a little behind the scenes, Vanessa's in a mini cut right now. How many pounds down are you so far?
I think 13.
So 13 pounds down, stronger than she's ever been. So even if you, like Vanessa said, have a struggle coming out of a show, you shift that mindset, get a little mini cut going down the road, can really still kick some ass. Cam, do you have any questions for the two of us? It's your chance. Interview us. Ready, set, go.
What's your favorite color?
I'm a purple guy.
Ketchup or mustard?
I was going to say purple too.
Yeah? Nice. Oh, so cute.
Favorite car?
Oh, that's hard. I don't know anything about cars. I can barely keep a track of when my oil changes do.
What car, if it was a man driving it and you were like, oh, that's an attractive car?
Are you asking me?
Her.
Yeah.
I don't know how my brain wanted to say something a lot more intelligent, but I didn't know how to.
I'm going to go with a 1971 Ford Bronco, like a white Ford Bronco, O.J. Simpson in the front seat cruising.
I feel like it's very cliche of me, but I really like bandwagons. Is that what they're called? The Mercedes, like...
Station wagon.
G-Wagon?
G-Wagon. Bandwagon.
Yeah.
So there's a lady who went to the CrossFit gym that I used to go to who has, are you ready for it? Not one, not two, but 3 G-Wagons.
She definitely...
What does she do?
I don't know. Sells drugs or something.
Sunflake.
She does what you do. She sells drugs. Sells drugs to people. All right, Cam, one more.
In a perfect world, what would you and Ryan like to accomplish within the next 3 years?
I'd like to see Vanessa get elected as the first female president of the United States of America.
That's ambitious.
Right? So now I know exactly how to let Ryan down. Not be the president.
In my perfect world, I would like to see Vanessa reach a new level of confidence for herself, where she feels that she's in a spot where her physique is further than it's ever been, better than it's ever been. Her strength is better than it's ever been, and her life is balanced in a manner that she is happier than she's ever been. That's my perfect world. What about you, Vanessa?
I would honestly have to agree, because I feel like that's really what we work towards, aside from when we decide to do prep, or if I ever compete in powerlifting or anything like that. I feel like just a well-balanced lifestyle is the main goal.
Do it. Follow
For
Ryan.
sure.
Stay away from fuck boys. That's an easy way to get that.
I like how you threw in until we decide to contest prep. Then there is no happiness. We set happiness aside and we'll say we'll be back for you in 16 weeks, but you got to hang out over here for a little bit.
Exactly.
I think everyone watching will really say, "Oh, that motivates me to do a contest prep, setting aside my happiness for 4 months out of the year." All right, Vanessa, do you have any closing statements for the people? Anything you want to leave them with?
If you're interested in bodybuilding or competing, do it, but do it for yourself. Because if you're doing it for the clout, you will fail.
Damn. If you're doing it for the clout, you got to get out. You heard it here first. Cam, anything you want to leave the people with? You think you can top that? Let's hear it.
Oh, man. Let me think. I need to think.
First of all, I want to thank my mom, and I want to thank Jesus. Both of y'all did a lot for me, really representing.
I'm just here so I don't get fined.
Damn right he is. All right, people, you heard it here first. Thanks for watching. As always, like, comment, subscribe, drop anything below in the comments that you want to know from Vanessa. We will force her to answer those questions, whether she likes it or not. Stop by the website at giftedperformance.com for all your automated and one-on-one coaching needs. We will see you on the next one. And until that day arrives, I need one thing from you, and that is to stay gifted. We love you.